Prince Andrew has been reported to the police yet again in his latest shady and dodgy dealings. But also, I think that this is a huge opportunity for us to send Prince Andrew to the United States of America to answer charges of his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. The FBI are still after him. And what a great starting point that would be. What a great symbol that would be for the ongoing investigation into abuse by grooming gangs. Hello everyone, this is Andre Walker. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please do subscribe, but more importantly, hit the bell notification icon. It's the best way to absolutely guarantee you get all of my videos as soon as they are released. Look, Jeffrey Epstein ran an island which was full of all sorts of celebrities, some that you've not yet heard about, others that you have. But one of them was Prince Andrew. And on these islands were young girls. Now, look, the girls were, 16, 17 years old. That would have been legal in the United Kingdom, but it's not legal in the American Virgin Islands, and therefore, legitimately, the police are interested in this. And Jeffrey Epstein went to jail in 2010. After that, Prince Andrew met up with him in New York. Now, there is a big question as to the extent to which Jeffrey Epstein was a blackmailer, but nonetheless, Prince Andrew went to stay with him. Now, you and I have got slightly different views on this. I've discovered this from the comment section. Many of you think that I'm wrong when I say that I think this is about money, not sex. I think Prince Andrew isn't a pervert. I think actually, in reality, he's somebody who will hang around with anybody as long as there's money involved. Look at the way his house got sold to a billionaire who's never visited the place. The way they used to duck off to Baku in Azerbaijan, the fact that he may now be living in Dubai courtesy of the royal family over there. He is just obsessed with money and will do anything for it. But now let's talk about his most recent criminal investigation before we talk about everything to do with Epstein and why I believe that he should go to the United States of America. He's been accused by the organisation, the campaigning organisation, Republic, who believe in the abolition of the royal family, of putting a false name at Companies House. He referred to himself as Andrew Inverness. Well, that isn't actually necessarily a lie, because whilst he is Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, he is also Andrew York, because he's the Duke of York, Andrew Inverness, because he's the Earl of Inverness, and get this one, Baron Killyleagh, I think I'm getting that right, in Northern Ireland. So he could call himself Andrew Killyleagh, though, of course, he doesn't. But I think it does bring into sharp focus the fact that he's deliberately used a name that people wouldn't recognise. If he'd have put HRH, the Duke of York, I think people would have noticed it more readily at Companies House. So why use this obscure name for 4 or 5 companies? We're not sure about it. I think it talks to the fact that this is a grossly dishonest man. I also think that he's stupid. I think that to debate Emily Maitlis on the issue of Jeffrey Epstein for Newsnight was a remarkably foolish idea. And I think when you listened to all the things that he said, it was very clear that this was a man who had rehearsed these lines with people who were just sycophants, who just agreed to it. Well, I'm not sure if it was my hand. I don't know this. I don't know that. It was pretty pathetic. But let's just be clear on something else. This is a member of the British royal family. It's somebody who should lead by example. The FBI have been trying to investigate him for some time. Let me get the dates right on this. In January 2020, the Attorney General, Geoffrey Berman, announced that Prince Andrew had provided zero cooperation to the FBI Epstein investigation. Federal prosecutors in New York and the FBI requested an interview with Prince Andrew. Only an interview. They're not even talking about arresting him or prosecuting him as part of their ongoing investigation in co-conspirators. As of October 2020, which is the last time the FBI made a formal statement on this, they said that they'd parked the investigation completely because Prince Andrew wasn't around and they concentrated on P. Diddy instead. Interesting point to make. But of course, Prince Andrew gave compensation to Victoria Guthrie. Don't know any of the details of it because they're all confidential. But I would say this to you. Let's force Prince Andrew to go to the United States of America. It's not a backwater. I admit the courts in New York have been slightly discredited recently as a result of Donald Trump. But the reality is this is the FBI, which is a serious national organisation. And Prince Andrew should be answering charges. How long can this go on for? I think he was wrong to settle out of court with Victoria Guthrie. I think he should have gone to court and proved his innocence or have his guilt proved, because that is the way that we clear this mess up once and for all. What is the point of him seething in either Windsor Great Park or Dubai, depending on where he is, saying that he was hard done by paying millions in compensation to this woman when he's not willing to actually stand up and face the charges? He should be leading by example. And I think the king should stick him on a plane. I don't know what the law regarding extraordinary rendition is of your own brother, but I think it is something that should happen nonetheless. Because time and time again, we're hearing about all of these scandals from Prince Andrew. I believe it's all to do with money. Many of you believe that there's sex involved as well. But fundamentally, what we need to ask ourselves now is to what extent we're willing to continue to put up with this. We've seen so many examples on the TV recently of public officials in Britain who've turned a blind eye to SA. Ben Habib, and there's a video link in the description about this, Ben Habib has talked about the fact that we should be prosecuting people like Sadiq Khan, prosecuting people like Jess Phillips, prosecuting people like Keir Starmer for the fact that they have overlooked SA and grooming gangs in our community. But why are we not leading from the top? Why is it? Because Prince Andrew's a member of the royal family, he can exploit his position in this way. And yes, it does take an Act of Parliament to get rid of him as Duke of York, Earl of Inverness and Baron Killyleagh, which I'm sure I'm pronouncing wrong. But why not put in that vote? Why not put forward that Act of Parliament? We know the City of York has voted to request that he be removed from the dukedom, although the dukedom is more Yorkshire than York. But I can understand why they feel that way. We shouldn't, in this country, settle for second best anymore. And that's what we've done so far. We accept Keir Starmer gets his pension and knighthood. Well, he tried his best. You know, the police completely failed. Well, they tried their best. And we're consistently in the position where we are not getting the best from our public officials and we're accepting failure. We're rewarding failure. Sadiq Khan can't do anything about knife crime. Nonetheless, he gets a knighthood for it. Similarly, he says that the suggestion that Pakistani men are involved in grooming is scandalous and factually inaccurate and something that was against the Home Office's own report. Absolute bunkum. And yet we settle for it. I think it's time that we started to clean up government, and I think we also need to have some unity, because I know that Reform and UKIP and the Conservatives are very, very keen on this. I know that also, and I keep getting into trouble for calling Tommy Robinson's organisation the EDL. By the way, I've said this multiple times, I'm not going to criticise the EDL for what they've done. They were frustrated working class people, but I accept the organisation was abolished 10 years ago. So, okay, the patriotic movement, whatever you want to call it, all of these people want to see change in this country, and I believe it'll happen. But I've got some bad news for you as I sit here today. That debate in the Palace of Westminster in the House of Commons about having a general election was absolutely awful. I felt really bad about encouraging all of you to watch it. The reason is because I just felt like it was Labour MP after Labour MP after Labour MP standing up talking about the 22 billion black hole. It was great when Farage said it's not 22 billion, it's 2.7 trillion, that being the total national debt. But the reality was, it was just the same old, same old. It was a depressing 3 hours, no good whatsoever. But I will say, at least we got it onto the order paper. At least we started the debate. At least there is an opportunity for Farage to stand up. And I think there'll be more MPs in there as well. Rupert Lowe's doing a phenomenal job. And so, in closing, I say this. I don't believe that Prince Andrew is going to be prosecuted over this thing with Companies House, because I don't believe that it is a genuine thing at all. But what I do say is he should be meeting with the FBI. He should be leading by example. If he wants to step off a plane and say, I am not involved in the SA of children, then he should go over there and prove it and lead by example. And then we'd be able to trust him. And then we'd be able to have some respect for him. And if he's guilty, do you know what? If he's guilty, I'd hate him. I'd think he was a bad person. But I'd have just a tiny bit of respect of the fact that he could have sat in Windsor Great Park, but instead he's decided to go to jail to atone for his sins. And if he's done that, then I think of anything he could do if he's guilty, that would be the best thing to do. And so he ought to, I'm not saying he should get credit for it, but I think that ought to be recognised by us, and certainly I would recognise it. Thank you so much for watching this video. This channel goes from strength to strength. By the way, thank you for all the people that circulated the video on homeschooling. I know loads of you emailed it round. Obviously, this channel doesn't normally talk about education, and so I was really worried that nobody would watch it, even though it was probably the most important video I ever made. So thank you for changing that, and thank you to the just billions of people that are emailing in their ideas for stories. I know I don't get back to you, it's just because there's a torrent of them, but I read as many of them as I can. So thank you so much. Until next time, goodbye.